Hello, Education 103-203 students. So sorry we missed each other last night. I'm here to talk about strategic library, and I come to you from the mural room in the Cushing Library. You are about to embark on research and scholarship that's going to consume a lot of your time and attention. So we want to make sure that your searching is as efficient as possible. So when we see this big open search bar, our tendency, because of this big search bar that is so ubiquitous in our life and the algorithm that is behind it, our tendency is to first just type in a natural language search, which is something like, how do I find articles on autism, or autism and mindfulness, or something a little bit more that comes a little bit more natural as conversation. Google's algorithms are so smart that we can type in something like how to make Twinkies. And we will be delivered results that look like they are relevant to our search. Sometimes it feels like magic, but when we try to do that in an academic search function, how to make Twinkies, the databases that we're accessing here, they don't use natural language, so it gets obviously more time consuming and a little clunkier. But look at this. We have an article from Forbes on how Hostess makes 1 million Twinkies a day. So just be aware of that as you're going through your search. When we start our searches on the Cushing Library web page, our tendency again is to go right to the search bar because that's what we're used to. But I want to point out this little red what's included. So when you hover over that what's included, you can see it says that searching from this search bar really only accesses a quarter of our databases. So if you're trying to do a really efficient search, this isn't the place to start. It's a good place to start if you want books in our collection or if you want some videos, but it's not a good place to start if you're looking for articles. The other thing I want you to keep in mind as you're searching is we do have something called Interlibrary Loan. And that is a service through which we can get articles, books, DVDs from other libraries around the world. When you get to a place in the catalog where we don't have a book, we don't have a source, and even for articles, you can, it should prompt you to fill out this form to request it via Interlibrary Loan. The only thing we can't get via Interlibrary Loan is ebooks. Ebooks are licensed specific to specific users. So we can't get those, but we can get articles, we can get, and those come in PDF form and they usually come within a day. We can get books. Sometimes those could take up to 10 days. So this is a resource for you to use. When you're starting your research, because we want to be as efficient as possible, I'm going to recommend that you start either from the research guide for your class, which we've looked at before, and you can start here with articles. Let's do that. Let's click on that. You can see this actually curates the education databases that are most useful. And I'm going to show you a few tricks with this. And then the other way in can always be, go back to the library homepage, and you can always just go straight to a database if you know a database you want to search. If you want to search PsycInfo, if you want to search ProQuest, if you want to search Education Source, you can go right, click on this and go right to the databases. These are listed in alphabetical order. Back to the Holy Names main library page. We're going to go to this Education Subject Guide. And we are going to go into articles, and I'm going to start my search with Education Source. So here we are. This is an Ebscohost platforms. Pretty basic. We have this search bar. We have some filters we can apply prior to us doing the search, because you can do that one in two ways. You can apply your filters first or apply them after, or do a combination. It's up to you. It depends on how well you know what you're looking for. They also, like other interfaces, have this basic search, advanced search, and search history, which I'll point out later. So we're going to go to advanced search in Education Source. And actually, I'm going to click on choose databases, and I'm going to search more than one database at a time. So I'm going to search ERIC, which I know is a good government education storehouse. I'm also going to apply Psych. I'm going to look at search PsycInfo and maybe Teacher Reference Center. So this allows you to do your search a little bit more efficiently. Okay, so now I'm searching for databases, and I'm going to search for teacher effectiveness again. And you notice in here, I'm using, it helps if you spell it right. So I'm using what are called Boolean operators. Those are those and or not things that you hear about. And what they do is they impact your search. So and it actually narrows your search. So we're only looking for teacher effectiveness and meditation or mindfulness. So I'm not going to get like just teacher effectiveness, or I shouldn't theoretically. And I'm not going to get just meditation or mindfulness theoretically. I'm also including this or, which broadens my search. So I don't care if it's meditation or if the article mentions mindfulness, I would take either one of those things because sometimes they're used interchangeably. The search engines know what order to sort of process these in. This is called an order of operations. The other way you could do this kind of a search, you go to advanced search, and advanced search sort of positions it the Boolean logic for you so you don't have to think about it so hard. So you would do teacher effectiveness and meditation, mindfulness. I'm going to change this to an or. Okay. So I actually would recommend that you start your searches from the advanced search just because it's a little bit clearer. And in terms of you embarking on this search journey, I would start making notes of the keywords that you're using, because you're going to see how some are effective and some aren't. And I would say that 90% of like the search process is getting the right keywords, and it's very time consuming. So start journaling those things, keep track of what works and what doesn't work. So I'm going to click on search. Well, let's look at the filters I want to apply right away. So I know I want full text. I don't want to have to go through ILL if I don't have to. I know that I want peer reviewed. My assignment says so. I think I only want like the last, let's say the last 10 years. And we're going to end this in 2022. Okay, so those are the things I want to apply prior to my search. And here I am, I have 5,062 results. So let's look at sort of the anatomy of this results page. I would like to point out that at any point there's a chat with the librarians. You can hop on, and any time that our library has reference hours, someone will be behind the chat right now. It's Michael, and if you click on that, it'll give you something to start filling out, and Michael's up there to answer any of your questions. So in this search result, you will see we have the actual records that come up. You have this box of filters. These are the filters I've already applied. If I wanted to change this, I could just toggle the year a little bit more. Here are my results. There's academic journals, reports, conference material, electronic resources. If you do show more, it'll give you, man, there's not many in this search. So I'm just going to pick academic journals, and I'm going to filter for reports also. I'm not really excluding much by doing that, but it's just to show you. All the different databases have different filter options. They're not the same. One of the reasons I like to have to search like info is because they have some of the best filter options. In this one, you can see you can search by publication, actual names of publications. There's something here called the subject major heading. That is, some databases have this kind of thing. That's where it's telling you these are the words we use for this. These are the subject headings that come up within the records themselves. Psych info is really great because you can actually filter by age if you're targeting a specific population or a specific gender. Unfortunately, they don't have non-binary there now, but someday they will. And you can also search by methodology, which this is a really great resource. If you know you have to find empirical studies, this methodology filter will do a lot of work for you. If you know you're only looking for qualitative studies because you're looking for that one quote that's going to make all the difference in your paper, this is how you find them. We're going to look at what I want to show you about this record in particular. It has this little orange symbol, and that means it's free, available on the web. So it's open access, which is awesome. We love open access resources in the library because, you know, it's all about equity and access. So let's click on this one so you can see further what the records look like. So here's the PDF full text. Over here is a whole menu where you can save it to your Google Drive. You can save it to your Microsoft OneDrive. You can actually just stick it in a folder. You can print it. You can email it. You can cite it. And export is actually for citation managers like RefWorks. Holy Names uses RefWorks. So if you were to click on export, it would actually default to RefWorks. So here we are in the record. We have the authors. We have even the address of where it took place. We have the resource it was published in. And then we have the abstract, which will always give you an overview and then like an introduction, an overview, and then like a brief discussion on what the study found. So this is a great place to skim to see if the article is relevant to you. And then we have the subjects and the major subject headings, the medical subject headings. So this will tell you the age group, what tests were used. This is awesome. Like I love these records. You can, of course, see your publication date, methodology. Methodology is a great place to quickly look and make sure, you know, that your article is checking all the boxes if you need to find empirical studies, or if you need quantitative studies as opposed to qualitative studies. Some of these records, I don't see it here, but some of these records, oh, here it is. It actually does have it. They will tell you who paid for the study. And that's a huge, there's a lot of implications with that because it's going to change your view of how valid the source is, right? Like if it's commercially funded as opposed to grant funded, that's a huge difference in terms of like how reliable I feel like this study is. So grant sponsorship is a great place to look. And then this one includes like an overview of the images. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back to choose databases and I'm going to deselect psych info and we'll watch how the record, well, we're going to have to do the search again. So let's search it again. And here we have some dissertations. We have an academic journal. We have to reset our filters here. So let's go to 2010. We're again going to just look for full text and peer reviewed. It has to refresh every time you click a filter, which is sometimes why it's easier to click the filters first. So we're down to 2,184 results. So I only want academic journals. And let's see how my filters change. So I've lost the filter for population, for study type. I've lost the filter for gender. So you can see like different databases are just easier to use because they do a lot of the work for you. So let's just click on this first record. Almost all databases now are populating this toggle, which is find similar results. And this is really going to cut down your search time. They compare the articles, they look at the subject headings, they look at the keywords, and they sort of map them. They also look at how these articles are connected in citation. So there's this whole method of searching called citation chaining, and there's something called the Web of Science, which is built on citation chaining. And I'll show you in Google Scholar, there's some elements of citation chaining there, but what really you're doing is you're tracing a particular article, like a particular essentially thought, through the scholarship. So this one article was cited how many times forward? This one article, who did it cite back here? So there's this whole movement that you can trace research through, and the databases are jumping on that. So if you find an article that really resonates with your topic, click on Find Similar Results, or go to the actual reference page of that particular article and see what other references they use. In here, again, it's the same sort of thing. We see descriptors, we see where it took place, we have an abstract that we can skim, but we don't have as many sort of data points in this particular record. Do teacher. So when we do that search, we get 125,000 results. But you can see that these books aren't really specific to teacher, so that it's not as sophisticated as the actual databases. And when you're searching through this, through our one search, for some reason, it always defaults to library worldwide. So you want to select for Holy Names University to see, like, look how the results just went down to 42,000 to see what we actually have available. And you can select just for articles or chapters. So how much does that lower my? Oh, we lost a couple thousand searches. Full text. We want to check here, and here you have similar filters. The last 5 years. I would love open access, but I think I do want peer reviewed. So let's look for that. And again, these aren't specific to teacher effectiveness. So it's just a little bit more unwieldy. It'll take you more time to do your searches this way. So what I would limit the Cushing Library main bar to is really books in our collection, if you're looking for books in our collection. So let's go back. I want to show, let me see, in Academic Search Premier, so here's something called subject terms. So this is where you can look up what synonyms this database uses. So if I'm looking up a cappella singing, this is how it's spelled this way in this database. So I'm not going to find anything unless I use their version of their spelling. So that's the case for all databases. And you can look up what the database, like what the different databases, what they use, how they use it. So let's get out of here. I'm going to go back to, here we are back to the education website. Let's go back to English language learners. Since this is English language learners class, adults and girls, adults and boys, let's do a search for that. We have 7 articles that come up in Psych Info. I can go down and see, oh, look, we have a limitation on the actual filters. So it's not per database as much as it seems to be per publication. So I did a couple of different searches here, and I would just want to show you what the search history looks like. So now I have these, I have 6 searches that I did because this applies the filters. So it counts every time that it refreshed. So let's say I want to check English language learners, and I want to see, I'm going to pick autism. See if there's any intersection there to see what comes up. And in order to run my search, I search with an and or I search with an or. So let's search with an and. View results. Interesting. Okay, so this is actually picking places that you can see, and then look at all these filters that come up. So that was 39,000 articles. There's a ton of filters, publications all the way from 1740. This is like overwhelming, right? There's so much information here. It's overwhelming, which is funny, not funny that really it's not as overwhelming as a Google search when you get like billions of articles, billions of hits. So we're still in the 33,000 range. So again, you're playing around with the search terms, what works, what doesn't work. What I want to show you, I want to show you Google Scholar. So here's Google Scholar. You can actually set up a link to HNU so that you can go and see the articles that we have that you find in Google Scholar. So you start out here on Google Scholar, you click on settings, you go to library links, you type in holy names, click on that, do search, and then you want to click on that and save. So now, whatever I search in Google Scholar, if HNU has it, Google Scholar will link to it. So let's search English language learners. Oh, I did not want, and autism. Google's algorithms are so smart, it just seems so much easier to search. And in some cases it is, but I also want to point out like how many search results you have. It's kind of like, that's also overwhelming. But what's great is that when you link your library to it, like we can access this first record at HNU, you can get it for free. If there's not, sometimes there's not a way for you to access it and it becomes tricky and you'll have to go through us to get it through Interlibrary Loan. What I want to point out down here is that you can cite with Google. It puts it into a citation for you. You can also export it to RefWorks. You do have to check these citations to make sure they're accurate. We talked about that already. And I talked about that citation chaining business. So Google now does a little bit of citation chaining. It'll tell you what are the 35 articles that have cited this first article. And that can be really great, again, in tracing ideas back and forth in time. So the other thing you can do in Google, which you can't do in our databases, is click on authors. All authors have profiles. And you can, if you find an author that really resonates with your topic, you can go ahead and click on their profile. It would tell you what their specialty is. It will tell you when they've published the most, which is pretty amazing. And so again, if you find something that really tracks with you, definitely take advantage of looking up the authors. And that is about it for me. Those are the main things I wanted to show you. I will remind you again that if you need some assistance, we are here via chat. We can make an appointment. We can go through this in a little more detail specifically with your topic. That's the one thing I missed by not seeing you guys, is I missed actually doing these kinds of searches with your topics. So I am going to stop my share, and thank you for your attention. I am here if you have questions. I am here if you want to schedule a session, which is like a half an hour with me, just going through searches with your specific topic. We can get to learn these databases together. The other thing is if you know you're going to be doing a lot of research in one particular database, it helps to actually go and just look at the idiosyncrasies of that database. In those help areas, you can just go click on it and learn some things about how the database is set up and how they organize their information. So that was it. I'm so sorry we missed this in person, but hopefully this helps. And I have a QR code here that I would love for you to scan. Give me a little bit of feedback on how this online session went for you. And I will see you again in a few weeks to talk about literature reviews. Thanks so much.